Good evening and welcome to the Libertarian Party of Kentucky's fifth debate that we have hosted with the Libertarian presidential candidates. We're going to just go through a couple rules tonight. I did want to thank our candidates for participating. Tonight we have Judge Jim Gray, Congressman Justin Amash, Jacob Hornberger, Vermin Supreme, and Dr. Joe Jogensen. A couple quick rules and then we'll get going. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes to respond to a question and 2 minutes to present closing arguments. Each candidate will be given 3 time extension cards that they can use for a rebuttal or an extension, or if you don't use it otherwise, it will be used in your closing and added automatically to your closing. I may charge you a time card if you extend your answer by more than 15 seconds after the time rings. Please don't talk or interrupt each other. And again, some questions from me may be multi-part. Finally, each candidate will have the opportunity to ask a question of another candidate. These should be generally not multi-part. And we are not going to permit more than 2 questions of the same candidate in an effort to prevent any sort of piling on. Finally, there will be a general poll put up online just with the viewers that are watching the debate at the end. And with that, I'd like to go ahead and start with our first question of the evening. Please tell us about yourself and why you decided to run for the Libertarian Party presidential nomination. What are the objectives of your campaign? And if you plan on winning, how you plan to do it. Congressman Amash.
Thanks, and thanks to the Libertarian Party of Kentucky for hosting this debate. I'm Justin Amash. I'm the congressman for the 3rd District of Michigan, and I recently became the first Libertarian congressman in the history of Congress when I switched my affiliation recently. I live here just outside of Grand Rapids, Michigan, with my wife, Kara, and our 3 kids. And they're doing their very best to stay quiet during this evening. But I love spending time here with my family, and that's been the one nice thing about being at home during this long period of time. I'm running to protect people's rights. I think that's the fundamental issue here, and what the Libertarian Party is focused on and what we need to be focused on as candidates for office. When I first started running for office for State House, I thought that the Republican Party could be an outlet, a platform for spreading the message of liberty. And I served in the State House for 1 term, and I've served in Congress for 9 years. And what I've discovered during that time is that these 2 parties, the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, are broken beyond repair. I don't think we can get them back in order anytime soon. And they really need a strong competitor. And that strong competitor is the Libertarian Party. I do believe that right now there is an opportunity like no other for the Libertarian Party to come in and challenge these 2 other parties. Libertarians believe in the individual and the value of the individual. And we as a party believe in that. And that's also a fundamental belief that is core to the American experience. So I want to be the candidate who unites the party, who brings people together from all sides and can spread that message of liberty to Americans from all walks of life. And I've had experience doing that. I'll continue to fight for that, and I'll continue to stand with this party to grow the party for the years to come. So I want to thank you for having us here tonight for this debate, and enjoy the night.
Thank you, Congressman. Here's our next question. What will you do and commit to doing to support down-ticket candidates as a nominee in 2020 and help grow the LP party as the nominee in 2020? And also, will you make the same commitment if you're unsuccessful in obtaining the nomination? All right, Congressman Amash.
Thanks. This campaign can't be about just one individual. It has to be a team effort. We have to grow the party, and that also includes supporting the nominee of the party, no matter who it is. Of this group, we have to support that nominee. But I'm going to spend all of my time and effort bringing attention to the party, trying to grow this movement, trying to bring people in, because if I don't have people down ballot as a nominee supporting the efforts and also winning and succeeding, then I can't succeed at the top. So it's an important team effort. I will share resources. I will travel around the country to spend time with candidates. I think that's critically important. I will do everything I can as a congressman to bring attention to the issues of this party. I will spend time on the media because I will get a lot of media attention as a member of Congress, bringing attention to this party and the message of the party. I think that's critically important. And that's something I'm very committed to doing throughout this campaign and for years to come. It's important that it not just be a one cycle effort. It has to be an effort over many years. I believe there is a path to victory in this election at the presidential level, but we need to fight for many years to come because the LP needs to be a strong competitor to the other two parties, and we need to knock them off their pedestal. I think that there's a chance to do that, and it's going to be a team effort for many years. Thanks.
Thank you, Congressman. We'll now move to another or current event section of this debate. This is the question. There have been a great deal of angst and protests recently about the COVID-19 restrictions in addition to federal constitutional lawsuits. Some of those protests have involved armed individuals. All of those protests have involved people not practicing social distancing. As the LP nominee, do you support these, as the LP nominee, or if you are the LP nominee, do you support these protesters' right to assemble, to file lawsuits, to open carry? And do you agree with their message and their efforts to stop these restrictions, or do you support some or all of the government restrictions from the coronavirus? Congressman Amash.
The right of the people to keep and bear arms and the right to protest. These are fundamental rights, and the government can't take away these rights and can't infringe on these rights. And no government authority should be coming after people who are exercising those rights. People should practice social distancing. We're getting health guidelines on that, and people should practice social distancing and be careful in times of a pandemic. But we need to make sure that we are restoring power to the people, that people make the decisions, that we don't have a government telling everyone exactly how to manage every situation. The businesses on one side of the state may be in a very different situation than businesses on another side of the state. And we see that here in Michigan. It doesn't make sense to have a one-size-fits-all approach. We have to trust the people to make decisions using the knowledge that they have. And I'm confident that with people informed about the risks of COVID-19 and the risks of spreading it, they will make the decision to be careful, and businesses will want to make the decision to be careful as well to protect not only their employees, but also the people who come into their place of business. So let's let people make these decisions. Let's not have it at the governmental level, certainly not at the state and federal level. Federal and state governments can provide guidelines. They can provide recommendations. They can help bring healthcare entities together to provide recommendations, but they shouldn't be imposing on the people a one-size-fits-all approach. We need to allow people to make decisions. In the state of Michigan, we had a governor who said you couldn't buy seeds in a store, even though you could buy other things. So you have to just rope off certain aisles. So we have to change the way we do that.
Thank you, Congressman. There has been a great deal, and this is going to a little bit of a repeat, but we have a lot of viewers tonight that want to hear the answer to this. There's been a great deal of accusations recently between Trump and Biden about the White House's coronavirus response, that we responded too late, that we did not take enough action, that the president should have exercised the Defense Production Act sooner to take over private business, that he should have closed the borders earlier, that he should have closed the borders not at all. If you were asked by a national media outlet to comment, what would you say about the White House's coronavirus response, and what would you have done differently? The question first goes to Mr. Hornberger.
Well,
Congressman Amash.
Thanks. The government massively failed here. The FDA and CDC prevented testing from happening early enough, and that was because of the regulations that were in place, which slowed everything down so that private labs couldn't get tests out. You had the government coming in with this relief package and deciding that instead of getting relief directly to the people very quickly, they were going to spend trillions of dollars on a convoluted scheme that spread money around to different entities and different programs, sent money through the Federal Reserve to large corporations through essentially a corporate welfare fund. These are all bad ideas. And then you have the president who vacillates from day to day. And I think that's really dangerous. Not only is his administration vacillating, but he vacillates from day to day. One day he says everything's fine. The next day he says everything's terrible. There's no confidence that the American people have in its leadership right now. And that's really dangerous and really detrimental and really polarizing. It splits people up at a time when we have to work together in a voluntary system, working together to prevent this virus from spreading. And you don't have that when you have a president who is misleading people. And that also goes to people in his administration who would tell you one day that you don't need to wear a mask. Masks are a bad idea. Don't wear the mask. And the next day they're telling you everyone needs a mask. And it seems like the reason they did it was to protect their own people and prevent an overrun, rather than just telling us the truth and being honest with the American people.
Thank you, Congressman. Here's our next question. Assuming that you are not successful in your campaign for president or your nomination for the Libertarian Party nomination, do you commit to supporting the eventual nominee of the LP, no matter who it is? Would you be interested in running for vice president? Why or why not to each? And finally, if not, why should your fellow candidates support you if you're successful, given that you've disrespected the judgment and decision of the party's voting delegates? The first question goes to Congressman Amash.
Yes, as I said earlier, I will support the nominee of the party. I think that's critically important. We have to be united as a party. And I joined the party to help grow the party. That's the mission here. It's not just about one campaign. It's about growing the party and making it a strong competitor for years to come. I really believe we have an opportunity to be not just a third party anymore, but a major party, a party that can compete with the other two parties and actually defeat the other two parties. So I'm here for growing the party, for spreading the message of liberty, and I will be here to do that regardless of the outcome of this nomination. Right now, my focus is on the presidential run. I haven't thought at all about vice presidential run, but I'm here and committed to the party. I want to run to be your presidential nominee, and I will support the nominee of the party.
Thank you, Congressman. Mr. Hornberger.
I cannot make that commitment unconditionally. I've always held that conscience reigns supreme over every decision, and whether my conscience is violated by a particular candidate's position would have to depend at the time how I felt about that. And I'm not interested in the vice presidential nomination. I want the nomination of this party. I think it's important to point out that Congressman Amash criticizes this big bailout plan, but he forgot to mention that what he calls limited government is another welfare plan that's no different from Democrat Andrew Yang's plan, with his little $1,200 a family or a person, every American citizen, $400 for children. Where does he think this money's coming from? I mean, did he think that? I mean, you're talking about $1 trillion right there if you go 6 months, which they're anticipating this crisis to go. Where is this money coming from? Does the government have it under their bed? This is money extracted from the Internal Revenue Service through force from everybody. Government is the great fictitious entity, as Bastiat said, where everybody's trying to live at the expense of everyone else. Or it's borrowed, adding another $1 trillion to the national debt, which all American citizens are responsible for. Or you get the Federal Reserve that's printing money like it was going out of style. Regardless of how you shake a stick at it, this notion of free money, whether it's Andrew Yang or a conservative or a libertarian-leaning conservative, it violates our core principle, the non-aggression principle. It violates everything libertarians stand for. People have a right to keep everything they earn, and they decide for themselves what to do with it. And it's not the role of government to take care of people. That's a progressive notion. That's a conservative notion. It is not a libertarian notion. Libertarianism stands for the right of people to be free to manage their own lives, where charity is 100% voluntary.
Thank you, sir. Congressman Amash, you used a rebuttal card, sir. 1 minute.
Yeah, I agree with those principles. But we are in a situation right now. There is time to talk about those principles and change the system and prevent this kind of thing happening going forward. So it's important that we do make the right changes so that we don't have to borrow money and do the other things that Congress is doing right now. But Congress is filled right now with Republicans and Democrats who are going to spend trillions of dollars. And if money is going to go out the door, and the public is behind that, then the important thing to do as a congressman is ensure that it goes out in the most efficient way possible. And the most libertarian, most efficient way possible is to get it directly to the people and get government out of the way.
Thank you, Congressman. We're going to go ahead and move to the next question, which is, for libertarians, particularly in the presidential run, the magic numbers have always been 15% for inclusion in the debates, 5% for federal matching funds, and 3 and 2% for ballot access in states. And my question to each candidate is, do you see your campaign hitting any of these numbers? If so, which? How will you go about doing it? And finally, will you commit to sharing any voter or donor data with the national party to help grow that party? All right, Congressman Amash.
Thanks. Yes, I intend to hit all of those thresholds. And I think it's important that we run a national campaign, not just a state-by-state campaign. The problem with the state-by-state approach is that candidates tend to do pretty well in one state. And you've seen this in previous elections where maybe an independent candidate or a third-party candidate does very well in one part of the country and then very poorly in the rest of the country, and it makes very little difference overall. I don't think the goal here should be to deny the Electoral College to the other two candidates, the Republican and Democratic candidates. The goal should be to win the election. And to win that election, you have to win it outright in the Electoral College, not by denying Electoral College votes and hoping that something happens in Congress to give you the victory. So I will run a national strategy. I will support candidates down ballot and across the country. I will support the Libertarian Party and share the data and information that we can gather so that the Libertarian Party can grow. I think that that is really important because, as I said, this can't be about one candidate. It has to be about an entire movement, a group of people working together to spread the message of liberty and the rights of the people. And we can't do that just as one candidate at a time or one state at a time. We have to do it all together on a national level.
Thank you, Congressman. We will now move to the individual questions. The next question is for Congressman Amash. Congressman Amash, one of the things that is concerning to several delegates are what they view as off-platform statements and concerns from some members of the party that you may be espousing an off-platform message, whether it's cash payments to people through coronavirus relief, the right to bear arms of protesters, your abortion stance, and stances that you might not be the right flag bearer for the party and its ideology and your understanding of the platform. How do you respond to those concerns for the delegates that have those concerns?
Well, I fully support the right to keep and bear arms. I'm a founding member of the Second Amendment Caucus. And if you look at my record on gun rights, I'm fully supportive, 100%. I back open carry. Sometimes I'll talk about the importance of how we exercise our rights and that we're careful when we exercise our rights because as libertarians, we believe we have the right to do things, and we also have to understand that people react to the way we exercise our rights. So it's important to exercise them in a way that is considerate and thoughtful and doesn't hurt our own goals. So that's critically important. I'm pro-life. I believe that the pro-life position is a libertarian position. And my goal is to work outside of the Libertarian Party to convince people of that. I work with pregnancy resource centers, for example, here in West Michigan to try to get the message out and spread the message about life. I don't think that the government is most effective at doing that sort of thing. As a president, the Libertarian Party supports the idea of not funding abortion providers. So the Libertarian Party is aligned with my position on that. What I can tell you is I have agreement with the principles of the Libertarian Party. I've been a libertarian my entire life, a small L libertarian. And I believe that when you work within government, you have to make those changes that will convince people to come to your side. You have to bring the issues, you have to present libertarianism to them with the issues that they care about, are concerned about right now. It can't be some kind of overnight experiment where we rework all of society or rework all of our government. If, in fact, that's arrogance and a form of central planning of another sort, to come in and say, we're just going to throw out everything we have overnight and start anew. We have to do things gradually and carefully, and we have to trust the people to make decisions through our constitutional system of government.
Thank you, Congressman. Our next question is for Congressman Amash. Congressman, one of the other concerns that delegates are raising is the existence of the exploratory committee versus a formal committee to run for Congress. They go to your presidential website for the campaign. It's got no platform or issue statements. And there's some concern, I guess, that the Congress campaign site's still up, raising some money, and it's raising concerns about the seriousness of your run, whether you're committed to run to the run. And the other concern that I've heard, and it's just a chance for you to address it, is this a run for president or is this an anti-Trump campaign? And could you address those concerns for us?
Well, the first one's easy. It's not an anti-Trump campaign. It's a run for president. As for the congressional campaign, I paused that campaign. That is not an active campaign. I don't intend to go back to that campaign. I have a campaign website that we put together as quickly as possible when we made the decision. There will be more coming to that campaign website in the next few weeks. Part of the reason I started with an exploratory committee was actually out of respect to the Libertarian Party and the delegates. I'm new to the party. I believe it's the right thing to do, not to come in with some assumption about running for president and being the nominee. I wanted to start with an exploratory committee out of respect to the delegates so I could get to meet them, so that they could hear my positions on things over the next few weeks, and then make a decision about whether I'm going to be the nominee and will continue to run. At that point, if I'm selected as the nominee, of course, we drop the exploratory and we're going full bore into the campaign. But right now, out of respect to the delegates, I started with an exploratory committee so that it wouldn't seem like I was coming in with some expectations, because I don't have those expectations. I don't believe it's right for any candidate to come in and expect to be nominated just because they're more well-known or whatever. The candidate has to earn it. And I'm a candidate who has the right principles. I'm a libertarian, have been a libertarian all my life, but can also match that with a practical approach that people will connect with, that people at home across the political spectrum will connect with. And I think that's really important.
Thank you, Congressman Amash. We're now going to move to the candidate question, but I'm going to go ahead and in just a minute, we'll go ahead and put a link up for our viewers to start polling. But the first question will come from Mr. Supreme. Mr. Supreme, the first question is yours.
Yes, this is a question for Mr. Amash. So I will get a refund for that donation to your congressional campaign?
Did you donate to my congressional campaign?
I believe I did, yes.
Oh, if you'd like one, you can have one.
Okay.
I didn't know, but first, thank you for the donation. But if you'd like a refund, yeah, you can have one, of course.
Okay. I'll have my staff reach out to your staff.
Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Mr. Hornberger, the next question is yours.
This is for Congressman Amash. Congressman Amash, you, of course, pride yourself on being a strict constitutionalist, a supporter of the Constitution. And you supported a bill that called, I think it was the past couple of years, that called for a nationwide criminal ban on abortion, in which people who were caught engaging in an abortion would be convicted of a federal felony involving a 5-year jail sentence. Can you tell me where in the Constitution you rely on to support this federal felony offense for abortion?
So I'm not sure about the particular bill you're referencing, because it was in the past, and I don't know exactly which bill it is.
Bill 36.
But I can answer the question. The 14th Amendment provides the power to have the federal government address state violations of people's rights. And as someone who's pro-life, I believe that a baby inside the womb is a life. And if I believe that that person is a life, then I think it's appropriate for the federal government to tell states that it is not okay to discriminate against these lives. Now, as a presidential candidate, as a presidential nominee, I won't be making the legislation. The legislature will decide that. Congress decides on the legislation and sends things to my desk. With the parties very divided over this issue, nothing's going to come to my desk that does that. That's my view of it. And when I'm voting in Congress, that's how I would vote. But as a presidential candidate, with respect to people who are concerned within the party, because there is a split within the party between pro-life people and pro-choice people, the president will have very little opportunity for that kind of thing, because there is a huge divide within the party. So the only thing that is likely to come to my desk as president is a bill to not fund abortion providers, no federal funding for abortion providers. And that is something that all libertarians within the party agree on. At least the vast majority of them agree on that.
Thank you, Congressman. The next question actually will come from Congressman Amash. Congressman Amash, the question is yours.
My question is for Judge Gray. Judge, in your experience from running races as a libertarian, what's the most effective way to appeal to people who maybe sympathetic to our message, but are currently outside the party?
Sure, and thank you. And that the first thing I would do in leading off, Justin, is to ask the question. We should have a sunset provision for all federal agencies. We should have an audit. Let's just see. It's taking our money. Let's see what they have done for the last 5 years or so, what they have accomplished, how much they have spent. Okay, now they bring us a budget to the Congress openly, individually, one by one. Let's see what they plan for the next 5 years, what they feel to accomplish. Then we can bring up Milton Friedman's wonderful comment, which is, we should judge our programs by their success, not their good intentions. And you do this on C-SPAN, you show people. So wait a minute, this is duplicated. We don't need that. Wait a minute, this started in the New Deal, for heaven's sake. Maybe they needed it then, probably not, but it doesn't need to happen anymore. There can be some agencies, and I think you've seen this, you probably agree, that should be abolished. I mean, let's start with the Bureau of Indian Affairs, which the Native Americans call bossing Indians around. We can just focus on these things. And incrementally then, they'll get that felt need. Wait, we don't need this anymore. We need to start balancing our budget for our children and the rest. So that's what you would open with. And then you don't scare the voters. You don't say, I'm going to abolish the Pentagon, or I'm going to abolish income taxes, or whatever, or I'm going to abolish Obamacare. As soon as you say that, 2/3 of the voters think, you don't care about me. Well, I do. I would have a voucher instead on a sliding scale for healthcare so that people could then purchase health insurance or even their copays on the private market so the prices will come down. So you just explain this to people. And with my background as well, it really helps to have been in the Peace Corps. I care about people. Been in the military. I care about the military as well. So these are things that I recommend all of us use. I'm not proud, no pride of authorship. Feel free to use them yourself. They're successful.
All right. Thank you, Judge Gray. Thank you, Congressman Amash. We're going to now move to closing arguments. The way this works is some candidates used their rebuttal cards, and so they've lost a little bit of time. Some candidates went way over their time, and they've lost their time. But the way that this works is I'm going to go through each candidate. Mr. Hornberger, Judge Gray, and Congressman Amash have each used one card each, so they each have 4 minutes to close. The next candidate will be Congressman Amash. Congressman Amash, you have 4 minutes.
Well, thanks to the Libertarian Party of Kentucky for hosting this debate, and thanks to the delegates for watching. I'm excited to be a part of the Libertarian Party, and I'm looking forward to working with all of you to grow it for years to come. Like any group, we have a diverse set of beliefs. You've heard from candidates on this stage today who have something different to add, but we're all concerned about liberty. Each one of us believes in the value of the individual and in protecting rights. And we just have different ways of bringing that about. We have different ways of representing libertarian interests as candidates. I look forward to working with all of these candidates going forward. And I'm excited to be the first Libertarian Party member in Congress. I think that's really important. I bring a lot of experience to this job. I will take that experience and spread the libertarian message to people across the country. Right now, we have governments across the country enacting extraordinary limits on our liberty. And Democrats and Republicans are really looking for an alternative. They're looking for something that will set them free. Someone who will come in and defend individual rights, defend individual decision-making. And I can be that person for this party. I believe I can be a uniter for the party, bringing different groups together. And then I can take that message of libertarianism, of freedom, and share it with people across the country. I think that is really important, and I'm committed to doing that as your nominee if I'm able to earn your nomination. If you want to join our efforts, please check out amashforamerica.com to sign up and contribute. All of our efforts over the next weeks and months will be dedicated to spreading the message of liberty, helping to grow the Libertarian Party, and winning in November. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Congressman. Good evening, viewers. We hope you enjoyed the debate. We hope, thank you, by the way, to all of our candidates. If we can get a quick smile with everyone real quick for a group photo. If anybody wanted to take a screenshot, thank you. And I just wanted to make a final pitch. Thank you for joining us tonight. We've got some fantastic candidates in this party. In my opinion, all of our candidates are better than anything the Republican and the Democratic candidates can put up. Please, if you're not already a member of our national party, http://www.lp.org/join us. We're trying to get our candidate on 50 state ballots, and it's not easy this year with coronavirus going out and gathering signatures. The party's filing lawsuits all over the country to go and get them on the ballot. Join us, help the national party. We need help, and we need more people to go and do that. So whoever the nominee is needs that help. Please join the national party. Our candidates are nodding for a reason. We need the help. So you can do that and obviously help your state affiliate. They're going to help spin up and make sure that we put our candidate on the ballot and help them achieve success. So please help us out. Finally, thank you again to our candidates, and we hope the viewers enjoyed. Have a good evening. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.